All right. And it looks like we're live. Cheryl, thank you so much for
Oh,
joining me this morning.
good morning, Jorge.
It should have been afternoon, but I know I kind of switched it up on you. But that's just because my wife notified me yesterday afternoon we were going to pick up the grandkids. So they were hanging out with us this weekend. Um, so if you hear them, hey, beautiful. My wife has just came into the fish room too. And so, I was like, hopefully Cheryl will be accessible to go in the morning that way because she's got the whole afternoon planned out for us already.
Still works.
Yeah. So, but I like I said, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. You know, I know I've been seeing you for a little while. You've been kind of popping up on Jeff's live streams and stuff like that, and I've been very intrigued by the little that I know about you. And I was like, wait, I got to get Cheryl on here and have a little conversation because besides the fact that you seem to be a very prolific breeder, I'm really interested on the other stuff that you do because the fish keeping is just uh, a small part of what you spend your time doing. If I was not mistaken, you work at a auto body shop, right?
Yeah,
So do you do body work or detailing or something like that? I kind of a little bit heard, but I wasn't really sure exactly what it is that you do. But I know you work with cars.
I am an unofficial painter's apprentice,
Oh, okay.
but I also do other things to help the office to get cars to go home, like detailing cars and doing final inspections. But I spend at least 90% of my time in the paint department.
Now, is that something that you've always been interested in, or is it something that just kind of happened because of work opportunities, or did you grow up around the car culture? Or?
When I grew up, my dad was constantly working on cars, and me and my older brother were always in the grease under the hoods with him. But when I got sick of working with the public, I used to be a retail manager
Okay.
off and on for 25 years. I got to where I couldn't stand working with the public. So I went to work with Ryan at the shop.
So is that his shop, or that's the shop that he works at?
That's the shop that he works at.
Oh, so how was that when you said I want to work here? What was what was their take, or were they kind of knew that you had some experience, or was this all on on the job training?
It's all on the job. But before I even started working there, on my days off or if I got bored, I'd go out to the shop and he'd teach me how to do things and I'd
Mhm.
do it.
So you doing mostly like prep work, or have you actually been able to spray cars yet?
I have I have sprayed. I'm still working on that.
Okay. So is that something that you want to do full time eventually? Is to actually do the painting, or do you prefer the prep work?
I haven't done the spraying enough to really know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I know there's a lot. The one thing that I constantly hear from people that do auto body work, the worst part is actually doing the sanding and prepping, and that's the part that seems to a lot of people hate because it's just real time consuming. And everybody seems like they just want to get to painting. That's like the most satisfactory part of the whole process.
I don't have a problem doing the prep work. I throw my earbuds in and turn a live stream or some music on and just go.
Now, are you guys working just on it's general cars, or is it like a hot rod shop, or
It's
uh,
a auto collision repair.
oh, okay, all right. So you guys are trying to get them back to factory status.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, how long have you been doing that?
Year and a half, 2 years.
Oh, okay. So that's still relatively new still doing that.
Yeah.
Now, is it something that you found that you really enjoy, or it's just kind of it's better than dealing with the public, or
It's a lot better than dealing with the public, and most cars don't talk back.
that's true.
Some of the newer ones do.
Yeah, yeah, I guess I can see that, but is it something that you're finding that'll actually you'll want to do for a while, or it's just kind of until you come across something better?
I wouldn't have a problem doing this as long as my body will keep up with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I know you were talking a little bit about, having some issues with your hands and stuff like that. Do you find that being a problem doing the sanding and all that stuff, or it's not?
Sometimes, but I
Mm.
have padded braces or padded gloves that I use when it becomes a problem at work.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I thought that was so fascinating when I heard that that's what I think somebody had mentioned that if it wasn't Ryan, it was somebody that you were out on one of those live streams. Right? They asked about you, and she was like, "Oh yeah, she's finishing up a car that she was working on." I was like, "What?" It's just interesting because there's not too many women, or at least there used to not be. It seems like more and more it's becoming uh, a thing for women to actually get into. Which this is my grandson. You want to say hi? Just say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, they're yeah. But yeah, no, that was just something that I thought was it's still kind of new, and it's always it always intrigues me. It's like I wonder what was the thinking behind doing something like that. Sometimes it's just a necessity. Other times it's just they grew up in that environment, and it seems like for you is a little bit of both.
Yeah, with my dad being a mechanic and always tinkering on his cars growing up, and I was a grease monkey just right with him. So I like cars more than people most of the time.
So do you also do a little bit of mechanics? Do you work on your own cars or?
I do work on my own car.
Uh,
I've done quite a few things to my vehicles over the years.
do you have any project cars? Any like little hot rods you're working on, or what kind of cars are you into?
I love old school muscle, but
Oh, okay.
I don't have anything like that right now. Right now, I'm just trying to keep my old Tahoe going.
Oh, okay.
I know Ryan has a project that he's working on, turning his old 6-cylinder Firebird into a 6.2 liter monster.
Are you involved with that at all, or no?
Not so much right now, no.
Uh,
Wait till the
yeah.
engine gets in the car and then,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So the turning of the wrenches is not so much of a part that you're really interested in.
Well, right now, I don't want anything to do with having to try to put that giant engine in that small car.
Well, yeah, because I'm assuming does Ryan do a lot of fabrication and stuff like that, or is he having somebody do that for him to be able to fit that engine in there?
A lot of it, he's gonna hire up, put the engine in the car.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I thought that, like I said, it was just you don't hear that very often, so it kind of intrigued me. But I was like, oh, I got to ask her about this. This is something that's really interesting. Um, but getting back to the other side that it's equally as impressive, if not more, is the fact that um, how successful you are at breeding. Is the fish keeping side something that you've also done since you were younger, or is that something also that's relatively new? Because if you tell me something that's relatively new, I'm gonna feel bad.
I've only been keeping fish, and I started when I moved in with Ryan a little over 3 years ago. I started helping him take care of his one tank.
So you're just gifted. You have the touch.
I think a lot of the breeding is our good water here. I
Yeah.
don't do a lot.
Where are you guys located? What
Independence,
state?
Missouri.
Oh, in Missouri.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's just because like I said, if I'm not mistaken, I don't. I think I started recognizing your name in the chats no more than a year. Am I mistaken in that, or has it been more than a year since you kind of been part of the community?
I think it's been less than a year.
Yeah, that's 'cause I would remember I remember not seeing the name before, and then all of a sudden it started coming up, popping up. It's like everything when you kind of fall into the community and you start realizing people are doing live streams, you kind of start, coming across the same familiar names stream after stream. And I remember seeing it, I was like, "Oh, okay, I don't recognize that right off the bat as somebody that's been, involved with the community for very long." So, but I was looking at your channel, and right now, most of the stuff you have on there, like shorts and stuff like that. Um, when did you decide to start posting stuff on YouTube? Because I know to be able to watch, we all kind of create a channel, but the posting of your content, when does that come about?
That came about from Jose, the Joy of Fish Keeping,
Oh,
and
okay.
Jeff Kane constantly pestering me on this end. And then Ryan kept pestering me that, hey, we need to, you keep seeing everybody else's fish and talking about ours, post it. All right. Eventually I gave in and started posting some things.
Now, is it something that you really are finding that you like, or is it just kind of like what's your what would be your goal with the channel and what you're doing as far as what social media is concerned?
Honestly, I don't really have a goal when it comes to the channel. I just post what I can when I can, and when I have time to do it or catch something that's worth posting, and it is what it is with the channel.
Oh, okay. Now, I guess because you haven't been doing this very long, what did you how did you get involved with the fish keeping side of it? What was it that kind of what was the hook for you? And then obviously now it's full multi-tank syndrome for you, but what was the gateway into this?
The gateway into the madness started when some of the Jack Dempseys and Ryan's tanks started spawning, and trying to relieve ourselves of all of those fry, we traded a bunch of them off for some clown knife fish and some synodontis fish, and from there we had to keep upgrading tanks for to accommodate those knife fish. And then once they got upgraded, hey, we have an empty tank, let's fill it up. Yeah, now I think I counted yesterday, I'm at 54. No, I added four more yesterday, so 58.
Now, are these communal tanks, or these are your tanks and Ryan has his own tanks? How do you guys do this?
Oh, I take care of all the tanks, so
Okay.
it's Ryan gets to choose what goes in some of these tanks, and I have final say over whether or not they'll work in that tank.
Oh, okay.
He's not too happy right now because we had a huge spawn of electric blue acara that outgrew
Mm.
the tank they were in, so they had to take over his new 75-gallon he was starting to set up and play with.
Oh, okay.
Because
Now, are
I
are you obviously your intention was never really start breeding all this stuff, or did you from the get go say, okay, this is what I want to do? I want to be, seeing that those fish had spawned. Is that kind of what has been the appeal for you, or has it just been like you said, just you know, happenstance that they're breeding?
the breeding actually started to get my attention when we got these clown knife fish, and they only wanted to eat live fish or frozen fish.
Hmm.
I couldn't get them to eat pellets, so I started a big mutt guppy breeding project to feed them, and we decided the guppies were too pretty to feed to the knife fish, so we started selling them to the local fish store. And when we got credits to the local fish store, we're like, hey, maybe we can, you know, sell them other things so that we can keep moving on with our hobby and add to our tanks without seeming like we're spending a ton of money.
Now, so obviously it was the knife fish breeding those, and then the guppies. Because from what I can tell as of now, is it seems like you have a lot of cories. Is that one of the species that you really enjoy working with?
I love my cories.
How many different
Love.
species of cories do you have that you're trying to breed?
Oh, right now I just got species slash variant number 10 last weekend. Right now, one, two, four of those are actively spawning, and I have two other species that have bred in the past, but they're not spawning right now. And then I've got a few that are growing out.
Now, in
Four
the time that
plus.
you've been doing this, have you found that most of these cories are pretty similar in how to trigger them to breed, or are you finding out that there's different setups for depending on the cories?
I do know that there are different setups and different ways to get different cories to spawn. The ones that I have going now are all very similar in how you trigger them to spawn. I do have some Barbados cories that I actually set up a cold room just for them because it's a cold species cory, and I couldn't keep this room cool enough or keep the tank in this room cool enough for them. So, yeah, but they're going to be quite a bit different when they start spawning than how everybody else is in this room.
Have you found that some of these are easier to breed than others, or in general they're all pretty much the same?
Some are easier. I have no idea why my black Schultz aren't spawning anymore. I've gotten spawns from them, and I haven't gotten any spawns from them in 6, 7 months. I have no idea what's going on with them all this, lately. But everything I done before to get them to spawn is not working now.
Now, could it be something like what you're feeding, or they all get pretty much the same thing?
They all get the same things. I haven't changed food on them since I got them,
Oh, okay.
and they were spawning just fine before. So I'm not sure what's going on. I've even started trying different things to get them to spawn. I've tried, I threw spawning mops in there even though they spawned before without them. I have gone through a drought phase for a few months and just let the water start evaporating out and then add fresh, clean water to it after a few months. I have added a power head to this thing, getting the flow up. They're just not cooperating with me. The
Yeah, I
next
know.
step is the next
Yeah.
step on this group is to just move them tanks completely,
Mhm. Have you
completely
noticed
destroy them.
that barometer pressure? You know, like when you have a storm front coming in, have you noticed any behaviors that might trigger that, or or is it
I,
just
I
doing the water changes?
I have an app that I use on my phone that keeps track of the barometric pressure forecast for an entire week. I can plan my water changes around the barometric forecast. I did that Thursday is a big reason why I started doing a lot of water changes because I knew that starting Thursday night into Friday morning, the barometric pressure was going to drop almost a whole half a degree between Friday morning and Friday night. And I had at least one spawn. I haven't even checked the tanks this morning to see if I got more spawns last night. But I did get one spawn Thursday night from doing all the water changes with the barometric pressure drop.
Yeah, so I think Mike's saying that with some of these guys, you got to have mucky, dirty water. Sometimes triggers them to um to spawn, but I don't know which species he might be referring to. I The only thing I've ever been able to successfully breed almost like on command has been the albino cories, but other than that, everything else has been either coincidental or just not, you have them in a tank and it's heavily planted. Next thing you know, you got fry. But don't ask me what happened or how I managed to do that. Yeah, I'm always quite impressed when people can make their fish spawn. The only thing I know that I can get to spawn real easy are the angel fish, but that's just because I've been playing around with them for a while. I know just in general, like every 2 weeks they're gonna lay eggs, and if I really want to trigger it, I'll feed high protein and do a water change right around that 2 week period, and they're gonna lay eggs. It's just almost like automatic. Set it and forget it.
I'm still trying to figure out how to keep the fry or a big majority of the fry alive. I have I have fry from two batches over here. I have one fry left from the first batch and probably about two or three dozen left from the second batch. I'm still trying to figure out how to keep them alive.
Yeah, I guess Greg says that he's been able to get them. He usually notices that they'll want to breed like 3 days before they get a full moon. It's just interesting how sometimes nature really kind of stimulates these guys.
It it does. I might have to try the full moon thing.
That's the first time I've ever heard of that, but it would make sense. I mean, it's also, I guess, has to deal with the different effects on the gravitation on Earth, and you just never know. But if it works for some people, it's worth a try, I guess.
It Anything's worth a try. I have even done water changes on this black Schultz tank, taking water from the orange Venezuelan tank. That those guys are prolific. I don't even pull eggs anymore. I have tons of fry growing out as it is. I will take water from their tank and do a water change just with that water. Just trying to get the hormones in the water
Yeah,
to get them going.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because I know I've heard, like, you hear like Dean from Aquarium Co-op and stuff like that, that they'll talk about sometimes species of fish will start breeding and it just kind of sends it throughout the whole fish room, and all of a sudden it kind of triggers other species of fish to also want to breed at the same time. I don't know if it's just coincidence or there's something to it, but if it works for people like that, it's worth a try. I mean, nothing bad's gonna happen from that.
I'm worth. Yeah. Hello. Sorry. Tongue tied. Anything's worth taking a shot if it's something that I want to accomplish. And they're in the room. I want to get them going again, just so I know that the first spawns weren't just because they were new to the room, and I just want to get them going again, just so I know I can.
Now, besides the Corys, what else are you breeding in your fish room?
Let me look around. Right now, I have a Pistogramma cockatoides double orange, and I did not try those. They started spawning in their quarantine tank 2 weeks into quarantine. I have fry and growing out in this tank next to me from them. I have my blue Pinoy angelfish that are actively spawning. I can't put them back in the community tank right now. I only have one female and a ton of males, and that was causing problems in the community tank, so they're stuck in here anyway. I have a couple of strains of fancy guppies. I have white cloud mountain minnows, platinum rice fish. I just started projects with blue kochu tetras, ember tetras. I have Daisy's rice fish that are spawning. I'm gonna look around, make sure I didn't forget anything in this room. That, I think that's all I have going in this room at the moment. But having some of these new tanks that I just set up, and I still have two set up, I have quite a few more projects that I want to get going. I just do a spawning mop in the threadfin rainbow tank and my killifish tank. See if I can get those guys going.
Now, for your egg scatters, are you trying to trap the eggs, or are you gonna try to see if they'll just community breed, or what's your technique for that?
I'm actually trying a technique that I heard from Nathan Hovey about using the artificial plant mats that's meant to be for decorations on the walls to put in the bottom of the tank, and then the eggs will fall through this artificial mat, so the adults can't eat them, and then when you start seeing fry, you pull them out. That's what I'm trying with the tetras right now.
Have you had any success with fry? Seeing fry in them, or
I just started it, so if there's eggs in that tank, they haven't even had enough time to hatch.
yeah, I know part of the reason why I'm not having that much success with egg scatters is because I'm not trying to pull anything out of them. I just have them heavily planted. I've put like lava rock substrate so that the idea or my thinking is the eggs will fall in between that. They'll hatch out, and then whatever fry survive, I think I'd call it a success. But I really haven't had. I've kind of been looking, but I haven't had too much. The ones that I'm trying that with specifically is the white clouds, and the only reason I'm doing that is because I know. Um, what's her name? What's her name? What's her name? God, it's slipping my mind. Rachel Leary would community breed these, but she would do it in a tote outside, but it would just be like a bunch of floating hornwort. And she said she didn't have to worry about having to pull fish out and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do something similar, but it's a 10-gallon tank. And so far, I think these guys are eating all the fry because I can see the females that are gravid, and then I'll see them where they release the eggs, but I'm not seeing any fry.
My white clouds, I tried using a spawning mop in the tank so I could pull the spawning mop. And of course, I never caught it until I seen fry. And by the time I got the mop out to get the fry out, they ate they ate all the fry. So I threw a ton of guppy grass in this 10-gallon tank with all the adults. Waited until I started seeing fry and pulled all the adults out of the tank. And now I have a 10-gallon tank full of white cloud fry.
I'm gonna have to try that because I haven't pulled the parents out. I have two males and three, I think four females in there, and I just, I was able to accidentally do it on a 20 long that I had set up, but it was so heavily planted. I think a couple of the fry just managed to get away from the parents, and they were able to grow up to a size that were big enough where they weren't going to get predated by the parents. But in that 10-gallon, I think I'm gonna have to put in more more guppy grass and hopefully see if that works out. But so far, and then again, I'm not in the fish room as much as I would like to. So if I'm not probably catching the fry when they're in there, they're probably becoming delicious snacks for the parents.
Yeah, a lot of my breeding is accidental, or I'm just trying different things and it's trial and error and things are working. So, okay, let's try it over here with this one. Or, but a lot of my breeding mentality right now is I'm in the BAP program, and I know it's going to take a long time, but like I have all these different species in this house already with all of our big community tanks that we have scattered around. It's like, let's just get a couple of spawns out of each species, add it to my BAP, and keep going.
So are you trying to get to become like a master breeder? Is that what your goal is as far as the breeding projects, or it's just a challenge just to see what
It,
you
it,
can.
it's a little of both. I would like to get to the master breeder status, but I know that's going to take a long time. But while I'm doing it, I can have fun and seeing what I can do.
So as of right now, how many have you been able to present for for the points or what is certificates that they give you guys?
Well, I've only submitted BAP once, and I submitted three of them in December. But I have four or five that I'm taking next month, and the way I keep starting new projects, I'll have more the month after. I'm just trying to keep a steady stream of new entries.
Now, after how many, I know there's different levels. How does your club deal with that? Do you have to, like, I know, do you have to document the procedures, or how do they, because I know they kind of want a little bit of evidence, and how many fry do you need to submit?
They have a form online, and I was told by the person in charge of app, as long as I have, you know, the species name, uh, hello, the species. Yep, brain's not working. The species name, spawn date, hatch date, and if it's a color variant, you can only do up to 3 of those of each species anyway, and you don't get very many points for them as it is. But yeah, I don't need much as far as paperwork goes, but I do have to take at least 6 in, and they have to be at least 4 weeks old, no more than 6 months old when I take them in. And they auction
Yeah,
them off.
yeah, I guess it's pretty standardized then the way that works. Because I remember you had to have at least 6 fry, but I couldn't remember. I know our fish club at one point had the program, but I think they're no longer doing it. I don't know what the situation is for that. I don't know if the person that was in charge uh of I guess keeping records of that is no longer part of the club. Um I only get to attend maybe 2 or 3 times out of the year because it's so far from me. But so I don't know exactly what happened, because I know the last time we had a swap, I kind of asked about it, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not doing that anymore." But I really didn't ask the follow up question as to why. I just kind of like, oh, okay, I just figured that much. But most of my stuff is live bear, so you're not, like you said, you can only submit so many of that, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I know our person in charge of BAP at our club, he has a lot of paperwork to do just to keep track of everything. So finding somebody that has the time and willing to do all that paperwork, I think, is a problem for some clubs.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about the people that actually get involved with the club, and like the board of directors. They don't really understand how much time investment goes into that stuff, and I notice a lot of the times they don't get appreciated, and people are real quick to complain about how it could be much better, but yet they don't take an active role or they want to commit to taking on that responsibility. All they want to do is sit there and complain, oh yeah, they should be doing this and that. So I don't, I always pretty appreciative of what it is they're doing. I've never been on a fish committee, but I've done some other stuff for the kids when they were younger, and all that stuff is a time suck. That's why you don't have people running by the hundreds wanting to do that stuff, because it does take up a lot of personal time. Now, as far as your involvement, which you said the club, is it something that's local there to you, or is it something you got to commute to get to? Because I know depending on where you live, what part of the country, some people are fortunate; they'll have like 4 or 5 clubs within a 30-mile radius, but others, it takes hours to get to them.
To my knowledge, there's only one around here, and that's the Heart of America Aquarium Society, and they meet about 20-25 minutes away.
Okay, so it makes it real easy for you to participate in the club.
Yep, just jump to the north side of KC Metro. Hey, we're there.
Now, do you take stuff to sell at the swaps, or you're not at that point yet, or what's the situation with your fish room?
I'm more than likely going to be taking quite a bit to our swap in May.
Okay.
I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to put anything into our auction next month. I got to see what quarries I have available, and I know a lot of my stuff's not going to be big enough. I might put some shrimp in there. I have tons of blue dream shrimp.
How big do you like to take the stuff you take for sale? At least an inch, inch and a half, or a lot bigger than that?
Depends on what it is. Corey's, I got to be over an inch. Corey's have to be over an inch. The white clouds, I'd want them to be 3/4 to an inch.
Mm.
These guys aren't even a half inch right now, so I'll have to see how big they are the week before the auction, and they're growing really good. This is my first batch of white clouds, so I have no idea how fast they grow. My rice fish aren't growing as fast as I'd like them to, but they're growing. So I don't know if I could take those. I do have some daisies, but I have quite a few people from YouTube that would like some, so I think I'm going to hang on to those and wait till I can ship them.
Hmm. Have you had much experience shipping fish?
I haven't. I
No.
was hoping to be able to do some test ships soon, but the weather, I know with this weather, I the bottom's dropping out again. I don't even want to try it right now.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's hard. I mean, to try to. It seems like the optimal period to be able to ship across the country is kind of narrow. And you have to be fully prepared to be able to do it in that short time of span, and because some places, like, for us it's not a problem, but if I know if I'm trying to send anything north of the country this time of the year would be insane. It wouldn't make it. If I stuck along the southern states, I'd be all right. Um, but I've also seen that the cold is not as big of a deal as it is with the heat. The heat is brutal, especially down here in the southern part of the country, where anytime you start getting over 90 degrees temperature, stuff doesn't fare very well. I don't know why with the cold they seem to. I know you put heat packs and stuff like that in there, but um, I think I don't know. It's just kind of weird. They seem to do a little bit better and than the heat. The heat is just it's bad. It's bad. I've tried doing it, even sending stuff up north, but by the time it leaves our area down here, it's already too hot. And I haven't had luck trying to do that, even in the late summers for us.
I'm sure I'm going to be figuring this stuff out since I'm going to be starting to ship stuff this year. I think a lot of it has to do with heat pack. You can get heat packs that will last a lot longer than any ice pack you can buy.
Yeah. Yeah, and for some reason it just doesn't seem like the boxes will lose heat that much quicker, because I guess it's an internal source, so it manages to do that. But I was disappointed a couple of times trying to ship stuff in it wasn't even the summer. It was like either for me, if I want to ship, I can ship right now, like anywhere in the southern part from here all the way to Florida, and more than likely it's going to make it. But I start trying to send anything up your neck of the woods or even further up north, it's not. It's going to freeze. Um, well, it might not freeze because if I set up the box right, but I haven't really tried it. I've been kind of hesitant to do that. And but maybe I should, but I'm not ready to do that either. I don't have the time. I Right now people ask me why you're breeding. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's just like having more fish and not having to buy them. But that's really the only reason I'm breeding. Uh, because if I was trying to breed for profit, and I don't have enough. I mean, I generate enough to keep my tanks full, but that's about it. And maybe, sell the occasional fish here locally, but it's just that it's not as prolific as as trying to breed for like some of the people that do, like Roxy and Brian or Jeff Kane, stuff like that, where they're constantly breeding and they're able to sell and supply. And not That's not where I'm set up. Um, is that kind of the same situation with you, or are you in a better state now where you actually have more of an inventory?
I don't have a whole lot to sell a lot. A lot of the things that I have going are stuff that I want to breed for myself. Uh, the Kochu Tetras and Ember Tetras, I got those started because I want more in my tanks. Anything left over, okay, then I can sell or give away or do whatever. But I
Yeah,
wanted
no,
more than 10 of these or 6 of these. I want more. I
yeah,
just don't
because
keep one.
it gets expensive after a while, especially when you have multiple tanks and you're trying to fill them up with fish. You know, if you only have a 20-gallon community tank, you can buy 10 of a kind, and it's not that big. You can make it look like it's stocked, but you start getting some of the bigger tanks, and it's like 10 of them just doesn't do anything to 'em. And I don't know about you, but I like the smaller fish. It seems like you kind of keep some of the same stuff because you have the rice fish, you have the tetras and stuff like that. So imagine trying to fill up a 75-gallon with Ember tetras. It's you're gonna break the bank on that one. So if you can kind of make them for yourself,
Uh, I
that'd be
I
great.
bought I bought 10 Ember Tetras for a 20-gallon tank, and I set up a 40 breeder, a fully planted 40 breeder. I'm like, I want to put the embers in with the Kubatai raspberries and the peacock gudgeons, but there's only 10. I need more. I'll never see them in a 40 breeder.
Yeah, I know. It's just that's kind of where I'm at with what I have now. It's kind of like, yeah, it'll be cool if I want to, just kind of have your own personal store to set up your bigger tanks. That's kind of my goal. Uh, you know, occasionally you can, for some reason, there's certain species that you just can produce a lot of, and those are the ones that you end up taking to a club meeting for an auction or a swap, but you can play around with those. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. And I know we got a pretty good size swap coming up in April, and hopefully I'll be able to take some stuff up there for that and see how that goes. But um, like I said, I don't get up to those club meetings maybe 2 or 3 times out of the year, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we're so close. We go every month, but we don't have anything else planned.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the advantage of that is you can start establishing if especially if you're selling stuff, like a clientele, list or customer base. The downside is you end up spending all your profits because you end up getting stuff that you don't have and you want. So it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, yeah. I got my albino paleatus cories last weekend at the the club plant auction. I had seen on the club forum that somebody was selling their breeding group reasonably cheap. I'm like, I don't have any albino paleotis. I don't have any peppercorns. I want them.
Yeah. That's what I have right now in a 10-gallon too. I'm trying to get those guys to breed, but like I said, it's heavily planted, and I know they're laying the eggs in the backside of the tank because I've never seen them up at the front. So I'm not getting to them. But again, I'm in no rush. If if they breed and I get maybe 2 or 3 out of that spawn, I'm happy because I don't have a lot of room anyways. So and quarries will breed by the hundreds. You'll get a ton of little fry. So
On
and that's the
some
other
of
thing.
them, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Well, some of the other speed, I guess that's where the price variant is for quarries is if you get a lot of them, they're going to be cheap. If they don't produce that much, then that's when they start retaining their value.
Yeah, like the green lasers. I think I've only gotten a total of 10 eggs out of them, and I have no idea how many actually survived because
Hmm.
I was a goof and mixed them with gold laser eggs, so I have to wait till they grow out.
They won't crossbreed.
Well, they're in different tanks, but when
Oh,
I
okay,
pulled the eggs, I
okay.
put them all in the same hatching tank. So now I
So
have
now
to
you
wait
got
till they grow out.
yeah. Do they start getting color at a pretty small size, or is it something where not until they start getting ready uh, to a sexual maturity that they start displaying color?
I have some gold lasers that have started getting their gold stripes and colors around 3/4 of an inch.
No, okay. So it gives you time to be able to pull them before they start trying to breed with other fish.
It'll be a while, yeah.
Yeah. That's the only thing with Corys though. I don't know if all of them are like that, but they seem to be slow to grow. I mean, I don't know what your experience has been like, but it seems like it takes forever to get them to a size where they're about 3/4 of an inch.
I have some. It depends on what setup I have them in to grow out in. Some of them I've noticed if I miss eggs and they hatch out in tanks with the parents, those things grow incredibly fast. I have green lasers that I missed and they hatched out in the breeding tank, and I've left them there and they're twice as big as all of the others.
So you found that when you separate them, they'll grow much quicker.
They grow slower,
Oh, they slower. Oh, okay.
but you don't get anywhere near as many.
Oh, okay. I guess because if they're with the parents, they don't want to get eaten, so they're gonna try to grow as quickly as they can, so they're not predated on. I'm assuming.
I don't clean the breeding tanks anywhere near as much as I do the fry tanks. I'm always
Yeah.
afraid of polluting the fry tanks because I feed them so much that I think I might keep them just too clean for them to grow.
No. Okay. Yeah. I most of mine, not that they're dirty, but they all have substrates. I don't have any. I tried doing the bare bottom thing, and I can't. I that's probably why I don't have quite the success that some other people do. Um, but I kind of like letting them do their own thing. Like I said, I'm not trying to breed for maximum profit. If I get out of any group, if I can get a few more, I'm super ecstatic just to keep the group going. That's pretty much all I'm looking for.
And I think it'd be fun to get enough to go and just have a good day at a swap, at the local swap. So I'm kind of working on that towards our May swap.
Yeah, no, I was trying to do that, and I was breeding Bristol's pleckles, and the breeding tank that I had them in, I just recently had the whole colony get wiped out, and that's because I didn't catch one of the oldest males that I had in there. I guess he must have passed away, and I was, working the when I was working, I was just, I would hardly when I'm working, I'm hardly ever in the fish room. I just come in, do a walk around and check and see what's going on. And I'm assuming this guy must have passed away in one of the caves and I didn't see him. And it devastated that tank. I probably skipped a day of coming in here and really paying attention, and that's all it took. The ammonia spiked up on that and it wiped just about everything. I think I ended up with just maybe 4 of the Bristol notes that I had in there, and I put them in different tanks. But I was like, all right, because I couldn't get rid of them. That was the other thing is, I was just breeding. They were breeding and breeding and breeding, and I had so many that I think I hit that critical limit, and it wiped itself out. So I was like, all right, lesson learned. So now I'm not necessarily. I was trying to breed them at first because they were pretty popular, but down here, and it came to the point where I couldn't even give them away. I had so many of them, and I take them to the swaps, and you know, you, I hate being the guy that takes the fish and they buy them for $1 just so that you don't have to bring them back. And I was kind of like, all right, this is not something that I need to continue to breed because obviously there's too many of them. And Bristol notes are pretty easy to breed, especially the common ones. If they might have been like long fins or true albinos, it might have been a different story. But these guys were just the brown, not even super reds or anything like that, just the common Bristol's pleco, and they don't really. I just there wasn't a market out here, so that's why I haven't put the pairs back in and or try to breed them. I just like it's no point. I'll keep them in my tanks and keep the males and the females separated. and let them live out whatever lifetime they have left.
I had some commons and longfin bristlenose in one of our display tanks that started breeding, and I was kind of happy when the clown loaches started fighting over the pleco caves because I took all the pleco caves out and there's no more bristlenose in those tanks that are spawning. I
Yeah,
was
because
really
once they
getting
get
some help.
going, they don't stop.
No, and they didn't. I was constantly pulling bristlenose fry out of the discus tank.
Yeah. Yeah, are you having the same issue with trying to get rid of them though, or people are still buying them up in your area?
I've sold some to the local fish store. I've given them to people that come over and buy other fish.
Yeah.
I've spread them around all the tanks around the house.
That's kind of what I did with the survivors. It's just kind of, but I made sure not to put in. Um, if I have multiples, I make sure they're same sex. You know, they're either two females or two males. But because I don't want them breeding at all. I have some long fins, and they took forever to grow out, and they just reach sexual maturity. And I'm even those I'm kind of they're albino long fins, and I'm still not sure if I want them breeding or not because I don't know if they're gonna be able to sell. I think people move past those and they're going for the more rare plecos. So and since I don't really ship stuff, it's just gonna sit here.
On the brown bristlenose and the longfin browns, I only put one per tank when I started scattering them around the house, so I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is remembering which tanks I'm pulling these out of so that I can put my. I have longfin super reds growing out, and
No.
I'm getting ready to just start putting them in different tanks, seeing if they'll grow faster because they are taking forever to grow.
Yeah,
And
they are slow growers. That's but once they reach sexual maturity, it's amazing how quickly they'll overrun you.
yeah, I have a friend. She's complaining that she has 475 gallons worth of super reds and longfin super reds growing out right now.
Yeah, and are those still pretty do they have a market or they're also kind of like people are not really wanting them?
They're super popular around here.
Okay.
She takes them. She takes them to the swap. She's going to sell a ton.
Oh, okay.
She might actually ask me to take him to the swap for her this year, but that's she has personal things she's going to be dealing with about that time.
Yeah, I guess it's like those things. That's exactly what usually happens. That's why I quit taking bristle doses because they'll sit there and then you become the pity purchase. And I was like, no, I don't need to be that. Luckily, I wouldn't put more than 6 in a bag. So, and it was 2 bags. It just kind of like I was like, all right, that's an indication that I need to at least in the Phoenix area, they're done with those. So, I mean, it's too bad that it crashed. I don't want that to happen, but at the same time, it's kind of a little bit of relief, if that makes any sense. Because now, you know, it's just one of those where okay, I've learned from that mistake. Now, don't don't repeat it because then it's then I more being cruel than anything else. So, but I do have I think Jeff, well, no, I don't think I know Jeff Kane sent me some blue eye lemons. They're still small. They're not nowhere near to the point where they're sexually mature. He sent me some of those, some super reds, some super red longfins. I think is what he sent me, and those are growing out. And maybe I'll give those a go because it's something different. But I think just in general, bristlenose are probably not as popular as something else. So we'll see.
Yeah, I can't wait. I don't know if I have another year or two or any day for some of my fancy plecas to start spawning. I won these fancy plecas in a raffle, and I'm just kind of excited to see what comes of my little $20 investment.
Yeah, I kind of like the from the fancy ones. Obviously, well, I think most people like the zebras, but and I think now they're becoming more and more because they're harder to come by. But if it's not those, I like the snowballs. I think they're called the ones that have the little. They're the but I like the smaller one, the dwarf one that has the white polka dots on it. And I think those look really cool. And but I don't know anybody around here that carries any of that stuff. That would be more though for a display tank, I think, if I set something up like that.
A lot of these fancier plecos, I think, belong in a display tank. Um, my 333 white and blacks, when I got them from the raffle, I set up a display tank with the sole purpose of being able to still breed them in that display tank out in the living room. And they're really pretty when you see them.
I was gonna say, how often do you see them?
I see one of the five about once a day.
I was surprised the other day because I have a clown pleco. Um, that guy must be what about 6 years old, and he's sitting in this tank right behind me in this 55 gallon. And I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I thought, maybe he passed away or something. And I just didn't catch him in there. And the other day, I came in here, the lights were off. I only have like an ambient light on, and I was sitting. I forgot what I was doing. All of a sudden, I see him on the glass. I was like, "Oh, you're still around." But it'd been years since I had seen him, and I was like, "Okay, well, I know he's still there."
That's what I feel when I see the blue phantom in the discus tank. We might see it once every 6 months, and by that time, it's grown another inch.
Yeah, yeah. I was just really surprised. It's like, okay, I thought you were a goner, but no, I don't know where he hides either because there's not. I mean, there's stuff in there, but whatever it is, he's doing a pretty good job of staying out of sight. And and I don't really. Well, no, I do come in at night, but uh, I don't know. It's just periodically. It's kind of like one of those things. Like, yeah, I'm still here. Remember me? And then they're gone. It'll be forever since I see them again.
Plecos are really, really, really good at that. So are eels. I know that we have two eels in this house, but I haven't seen either one of them in about 4 months, 5 months.
The
I have
ones
no
that
idea.
surprised, yeah, the ones that surprised me is I had put in 4 black coolie loaches in that pleco tank that got devastated, and I hadn't seen them in forever. I thought, oh, these guys must have died. It was one of those things where it was a stupid impulse purchase because I really didn't have a tank set up for them. And when I got home, I was like, okay, where am I going to put them? So I put them in there with the plecos. And when I was going through the process of pulling all the dead plecos and pulling out of the caves, and just like, all right, this is done. I thought this whole tank was toast. Um, I drained it, and I had left it. I don't know, maybe about 4 inches of water in there, and it was late, so I left it. Came back the next morning. Well, all the moam and everything had settled down, and I was looking in here, and I was going to start scooping the substrate out of it to kind of reset that tank and set it up for something else. When all of a sudden I see one of them wiggled, and I was like, "Oh, this sucker made it through this whole thing." And so I said, "Okay." Well, then I started siphoning out all the moam that was on there and being careful about it. And lo and behold, there were still all 4 of them were still in there. I don't know where they were hiding this whole time. I don't know how they managed to survive the ammonia spike in that tank because all the other plecos had passed away. And I was like, at this point now, it's like they're in there, but for a long time they had that whole 55 for themselves, and then of course you can't just have 4 coolie loaches in a tank like that. So I started putting in some swordtails that I was separating. So now it's my swordtail and coolie loaches. I'm hoping they'll breed though, because they got a lot bigger than I remember them putting them in there. Probably about twice as big as when I first purchased them. So if now that they don't have somebody they'll predate on them, Hopefully they'll breed, and I'll have more of those little crazy noodles.
I love my coolies, and half the time I forget they're there until I see them go crazy on the side of the glass every couple weeks.
The only time I would see them before periodically is whenever I do a water change. For some reason, they had a corner of the tank, and I would only see one though. That's why I always thought I only had one coolie loach for the longest time, and he would just go around doing his loops and circles going up and down, up and down, up and down, and then he would disappear. And then for a while there, I just didn't see him anymore. And then after that whole issue there, I thought he's a goner for sure. I thought they were a lot more sensitive than some of the other fish because they're scaleless and all this stuff. But I guess they're troopers. They're bulletproof. I've heard some crazy stories about coolie loaches, so I kind of wasn't surprised that they managed to survive. Freddy Cougar is a boogeyman.
Sorry,
I
I
don't know
was
what.
giving a coffee refill.
Oh. So do you have any fish that you don't currently don't have and are wanting to get your hands on to be able to breed, or like any, I guess, dream fish? No, not dream fish, but a fish that you're kind of targeting out there and going, these are the next project that I like to be able to have in the fish room.
I have a lot. I have a lot of those. I definitely have a lot of those in my head.
Which
I
were
know
the ones
Ryan.
that you came across you couldn't pass up right now? Because it's always going to be it's like people ask me, "What's your favorite fish?" Oh, well, the ones that I'm keeping. That's why I'm keeping them. But there's always that one fish that if you come across, you go, "Oh yeah, I have to have it." Is there something like that right now that is kind of in that rotation?
I would have to get some longfin German blue rams,
Oh,
and
okay.
the only reason why they'd have to be longfin is because Ryan loves anything with longfin, and I owe him some of those for Christmas anyway. Yeah, definitely some longfin German blue rams. I There's so many things that I've seen that I've had to sit on my hands to not get, especially at club auctions and things. I think it's one of those things. If I see it, I get it anyway most of the time. It's like right now, I'm waiting to free up the right size tank in this room. I don't have very many bigger breeding tanks in this room, but I'm waiting to free up one so that I can try breeding marble hatchet fish.
Oh, okay.
I think they're cool, and I don't think it doesn't is enough for a 90-gallon tank.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of those fish, I remember them being like super popular, like in the late '80s, early '90s. Because I remember just going to any pet store and seeing them, and it seems like nowadays, at least the pet stores that I've been to, hatchet fish are not as common as I remember them being. The other one is like the African, what is it, butterfly fish, that upside down. Those those used to be everywhere. You couldn't go to a pet store. Now they seem to be very scarce. At least in my area. I don't know what it's like where you're at, but down here you can't find them anymore.
You just made me remember something. I used to have an African butterfly fish, and I had a problem with I had too many mystery snail babies growing in a tank that they were in, and they just all of a sudden I had a massive die off of mystery snails, and it killed all three of my butterfly fish. That I love those silly things,
They got a
and
question for you. They want to know, what's the biggest single piece of advice that you'd give someone that's new to the hobby?
don't give up and do as much research as possible before you dive in headfirst.
See, you're a lot smarter. I'm totally the opposite. I'm so impulsive, and I get in over my head, and then I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get this through. But yeah, that's the smart thing would be to kind of prep yourself and be informed before you go around spending money on fish. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions that I might have missed. Yeah, I don't know. Talk to Curtis. He does a bunch. I forgot. I wonder what that was. What this was about. Um, I know Curtis usually has some of the rare species like Gadeids and Limias and stuff like that. But I, w- I wonder what we were talking about that you were having trouble with.
I know I do have a pair of, I can't even think, tequila split fin goodies, and
Oh,
I plan on picking his ear a little bit on the drive to Quad Cities. I would have expected them to start breeding by now, and they're not. Maybe I don't have enough moss and they're eating all the babies before I see them. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. That's probably what it was. Yeah. No, like I said, it's just me. I was hoping we were supposed to have like a schedule change at work, um, where it would give me a little bit more time. Actually, I would have a lot more days off, and I think if that comes to fruition, I'm going to be able to dedicate a little bit more to trying to purposely breed stuff instead of accidentally breeding stuff. And because again, the hardest thing is the breeding. Well, we don't get involved with that. The fish do that. It's the rearing of the fry. That I think that's where it's the challenge for everybody that's breeding fish is trying to get those fry to get past the wiggler stage to free swimming where they can, you know, be be at a size where you can sell them. I think that's the biggest challenge is getting the fry to grow out. And that just takes time and dedication. You got to be available to be able to do that. I don't feed enough times in the day to if I have fry to be able to successfully get them to grow out. And that's usually been the biggest drawback for me.
Foxy, I'm planning on going to Quad City in April.
Oh, okay. So are you where's the Quad City? Where's that at?
Davenport, Iowa,
Oh, okay. How long of a drive is that for you?
somewhere between 5 and 6 hours.
Oh, okay. That's an easy drive.
I'm hitching a ride with Curtis. Curtis is going to drive through KC on his way there, so I'm going to hitch a ride with him there.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's not a bad drive. That's a no brainer for me. That's kind of like driving up to LA. So yeah, that's I start contemplating after 8 hours, then it starts becoming do I want to do that drive? But we're a little bit different out here in the West Coast because we travel some, it's more wide open. So everywhere is an hour drive. I hear people complain about an hour drive. That's like a morning commute for us.
I wouldn't have a problem with an hour drive.
Yeah, that's not for us. It's not uncommon, but I know people like in the East Coast. You drive it for an hour. You've gone through 3 states. You'll cross 3 states in an hour.
I say it's not an hour for me. One of my newest favorite fish store slash pet stores is in Lawrence, Kansas, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away.
Hmm.
And we don't go that often because Ryan's not a big road trip person, and that's too long for him to go. Too far of
Yeah,
a drive.
yeah, yeah. No, I most of the jobs that I've had have always been like some sort of driving involved in them. So I'm used to being on the road. You work 8-hour shift and you're the most about 6 hours of those are driving, back and forth and doing stuff like that. So to me, being able to drive 8 hours is not that big of a deal. Um, Especially now that our kids have moved out. Uh, the one that went the furthest is the one that's up in San Antonio now. So, and that we do that in a day. It's a hell of a day, but we'll drive it up there in a day. So you're going to go to that quad city. Is there any other, um, I guess, events that you are considering attending or like to attend?
Oh, there's quite a few I'd like to attend. It's with our four-legged kids. It's hard to leave the house for too long at a time, which is why I'm going to be riding with Curtis to Quad City, and Ryan's going to be staying here and taking care of the dogs because they're crazy and we don't want to leave them kenneled up that long, and we can't leave them in the house unattended for that long. It'll be just completely destroyed.
Oh, they're indoors?
Yeah, if we're not home, they stay inside.
Hmm.
I don't want to leave my German shepherds out in this neighborhood when we're not home.
Yeah.
Bad things may happen.
Yeah, that's the one thing that can sometimes complicate things. I know with Toby, our dog here, for a while there, it was the reason why we wouldn't do anything because it's trying to find somebody to take care of him. Uh, Luckily, I found it's incredible what you can find nowadays as far as applications and services that they'll provide. And there's actually a company out there that'll do like dog sitting, and you have the choice of whether they take it to their place or you can leave it at your home. And they also have the option of they could sleep at your home and take care of the dogs, or they can just come and visit X amount of times. Well, you dictate how many visits you want during the day. It's crazy how you can customize it. But so for us, it's more than anything else. It was feeding him because our temperatures are not. I can leave the garage door side open, and he can come in and out, and he's got his bed in here in the garage. So in the summer, I'm running the swamp cooler, so he'll come in here and cool off. And in the winter, I got the little space heater, so he can come in here. So all I really need is just somebody to come and feed him. That's the only reason that. But you can even have somebody do that, and they'll visit him once in the morning and then once in the evening, just to make sure that he's all right, that he's got something to eat and water to drink. But yeah, it's ever since we discovered that, it's kind of gotten to the point now where we can travel a little bit more because we're not having to worry what's going to happen to Toby.
Well, that would be awesome if our male German Shepherd wasn't such a he doesn't let anybody in the house except for I think two people other than
Mm.
us. It's his house. You are not coming in, and he won't let anybody through the door to even take care of him unless it's one of those couple of people.
Yeah,
At least I know when we're not home and we do leave them out, nobody's getting in the house.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's the only downside. I mean, the problem is the German shepherds are probably also too big to take with you anyway. So it's just
A lot of places, yeah, they'd be way too big. But I've learned that the male he's too overprotective to take anywhere anymore unless
mm,
he stays in the car.
mm,
He will not let anybody get close to me. So fine, you're staying home. You can be a love bug at home and not be an asshole outside.
yeah. Well, with that being said, is there anything else that I know you guys you're contemplating the idea of shipping and stuff like that, but if that becomes a reality, how do people get in touch with you? One, to see what you currently have in inventory, and two, to possibly be able to purchase from you.
I I'm not sure if I have an Instagram. I think I do, but I never check it or get on there. I am on the Fish Cord on the Discord
Okay.
app. I have my email in the description of my YouTube channel, and I am also on Facebook.
So any of those three, to reach out to you to whatever it is they're looking for, or whatever questions they have, those are the best ways to get a hold of you.
Yep, those are the best ways.
All righty. Well, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much, Cheryl, for joining me today, and also for working with me on the schedule. 'Cause I know it was supposed to be later on today, but I got a curveball when I got home on Friday. I was like, hopefully, hopefully we can make this work. And thankfully, you accept it. So, thank you so much for that. And I look forward to seeing you around in some of the chats, and see what else is coming out of your fish room, and hopefully see a little bit more videos. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I keep telling myself I need to make more, and I never have my phone in my hand when something pops up that I want to record.
And actually,
I
I don't even think shorts are a bad option, because they're a little bit quicker. But for some reason, I get the impression that YouTube is pushing shorts right now so much. They're they're there's they're increasing the lengths of the shorts, so that I think now you have like a full minute, or almost 3 minutes, that you can do a video and be able to post that. So I like it because it's just pretty quick. It doesn't take a whole lot of planning or anything like that. What are you doing, buddy? and and it just allows you to put content out there a lot quicker. So that could also be an option for you.
I do prefer the shorts, although I am trying to, certain things that I want to make a video of. I will go and take a short video here and save it to my phone for later, and then I'll get a couple of chunks that I want to put together to make a video and forget that they're on my phone and I never make the video.
Well, but you can put those together and eventually release it. It's good to have that information, because sometimes what unintentionally what happens is you can make it like a progression video, where you kind of were trying to hit something and they might have been a little bit smaller, and then you record them later on thinking, oh, I need to do this video, and before you know it, you have enough footage to be one of those time progression kind of videos, those are really cool too.
Those are.
Well, with that being said, I want to again thank you so much, and thank everybody that was here in the chat today, that joined us this morning. You guys are a bunch of losers. They didn't have anything better to do on a Saturday than hang out with us. I'm just kidding.
Thanks for having me, Jorge.
No, no problem, no problem. And again, I look forward to seeing you in the chats, and I'll keep an eye out. I've definitely have been enjoying the little bit that you've put up. Has been fun. So I encourage you to do that a little bit more, and that way you start sharing a little bit of your knowledge, because I know before you know it, you're gonna have a lot more experience than a lot of us, because you've been able to breed a lot of stuff in such a short time.
I still say it's just lucky I have good water.
Whatever it is, I'm still sure there are some tips in there that we can all benefit from. So with that, enjoy the rest of your day, and maybe we'll see each other in a later stream today. So you guys take care, and have a blessed day.
Bye.